Welcome back, guys, to another Reincarnation Coliseum video. Chapter 35 begins with most of the team being pulled aside for an emergency meeting. Mikigami left Vivian, Paula, and Saizou out of it because he felt those three could still betray him. Chris was seen as least likely to betray out of the new slaves, so he decided to invite her over them. Mikigami's reasoning behind the decision comes from realizing that his copy skill has a fatal weakness. That said, the team goes over its usage and time limit from the previous matches. For Marl and Mary, a smack from them would normally keep it active for about an hour, but now it only lasts for about 5 minutes. For Alice and her spatial exchange, it's active for about 30 minutes. With Fine and even Chris, their attempts so far have produced nothing to cause the copy skill's activation. As they go into detail, the factors that play a role in the skill are activation conditions, enemy acknowledgement, and attack effectiveness. Fine theorizes that it's possible with each slap that time was reduced to where Mikigami could no longer copy her or Chris's skill. Putting their heads together again, Mary and Marl believe it's because they're so different from Fine and Chris. Having more combat experience may play a factor in this as well, to which Mikigami agrees. To him, Fine and Chris are more introverted, or rather shut-ins, compared to actual gladiators. With the former questioning what he meant by the disrespect, Mikigami slightly takes it back before asking if either of them think of him as an enemy. Glancing at each other for a bit, Chris isn't 100% sure but thinks he is. Fine also thought the same, but not so much anymore as time went on. Mary understands the situation a bit more and states that it's natural for her and Marl to have more combat experience since they're always training. Marl meanwhile explains that when you team up, making preparations is a good thing to do before fights, but when it's time to face off against each other as enemies, you should be thinking of them as such. Mikigami chimes in that even as an introvert himself, he understands that it's not natural to think of fighting your allies as enemies, but it's still possible to do so. Using Alice as an example, he questions if she hates him, to which she proudly claims to. Much to Zulu's dismay, he continues by pointing out how Mary and Marl would be able to think of him as an enemy, but it wouldn't last long. He talks about how when their relationship was fairly new, he was still able to use the copy skill for about an hour. Even with Alice's dislike for men, when the relationship developed further and more slaves were added, the usage time dropped to about 30 minutes. In conclusion, the skill to copy his allies was a way for him to get stronger, and as that grew, so did their affection. Now, out of all times, copying their skill has become impossible for some reason. Marl, Mary, and Alice comment on the skill and its role in allied relationships before realizing that it's actually malicious. That said, Zulu steps in to say that knowing the cause of the skill's problem is great and all, but everything points back towards Fine. He's asked to think of Mikigami as an enemy, but responds that it's difficult since she sees him as a best friend. Her words shock the other slaves as she continues that up until now, she never had any friends who shared her skills. Even if I met him as a guy, I do believe we would have been best friends, she says. This leaves the others puzzled by this development and how different Fine's relationship is compared to their own. Chris starts to get inspiration for a story about the predicament and starts to write in her journal. Mikigami does question what she's writing down, but Alice answers that Chris would do this sometimes when an idea popped up. Putting her aside for the moment, Mikigami tells Fine that she doesn't have to see him as an enemy to train with since everything so far has been pure speculation. If the cause ends up being different from what's discussed, then their training time will be wasted. That's when he asks her if there's something that can make her stronger. Reassuring her with a thumbs up, he mentions that there's a combo skill he'd like to try out, to which Fine wants to get started with right away. Amidst their smiles, Mikigami thinks to himself how Fine is just as weak as him. She may have numerous skills, but they're not strong at all, he says. In his current state, he can't even copy the weak skills, which leads him to believe that together they form the weakest team in the Coliseum. Regardless of how he feels, to make sure the new Fine combo succeeds, it all comes down to who their opponents are. This panel shifts to the office of Desmos. A nameless knight can be seen getting thrown out of a window. She then turns her attention to the scared noble on the floor. "You scum," she says. "You think that was a gladiator? You dare call yourself a merchant. You underestimate me." As she prepares to throw him out, he nervously tries to speak, but Desmos tells him to get lost while hurling him toward the broken window. Footsteps and a cart with tea in tow drawing near. Desmos' secretary calls out to her, "Lady Desmos, How did things go with the last candidate, she asks. As Desmos takes a seat, she responds that none of them is worth a discussion. Taking a sip of the tea prepared, she goes on to say that the last merchant, or rather garbage, couldn't even bring someone decent, so he should be banned. It was such a waste that she measures the quality to that of G's toenail. The secretary apologizes for bringing her such failures, but Desmos assures her that it's not her fault. Nobody has any intention of winning, and it makes me want to yell at them. The samurai, the general, and even the grand merchant couldn't do it. I just can't predict what's going to happen anymore, she says. The more cautious and wise one is, the better it is to not get involved. Right now, however, she can't find a suitable opponent. Breaking her teacup, she's disappointed in how only scum are prepared to lose instead of fighting Mikigami to achieve an actual win. Mikigami, Zaid, the 4 Heavenly Kings, the tag battles, everything has led to this final match coming up. I guess it wouldn't be a Coliseum if it wasn't daring and exciting, she says. At that moment, footsteps can be heard heading toward Desmos' office. She notices someone is coming and asks her secretary who it might be. She responds that it's the last candidate, which leaves Desmos puzzled. When the door opens, she's shocked to be greeted by a noblewoman named Sapphire. Sapphire speaks as if she's in a good mood before Desmos asks why she's there. What a strange thing to ask. It was you who was looking for suitable candidates to take on Mikigami, yes? With that, 2 gladiators appear behind her. These are the opponents I've brought with me. Desmos could only silently watch as panels shift to the Coliseum, with Coco and Momo co-commentating the final tag match. Mikigami enters the arena with the coat he wore during his fight against the General and Chris. One guy in the crowd mentions him having a ton of gear and skills, while the other states that there's a rumor going around about management not being able to find an opponent for him. Next up is Fine Catastrophe, who's now sporting a new look. The audience goes crazy over it and hopes Fine brought new skills to show them as well. The opponents are revealed as twin knights of the Aho family. Making a groundbreaking entrance towards their own opponents, Ruby and Diamond get the crowd excited, taunting them. Mikigami and Fine can only look unimpressed as the chapter comes to a close. So, this was chapter 35, right? And Mikigami's problem isn't solved completely. It's kind of like put to the side in a way. But from what I understand, the levels of attraction are playing a role in the effectiveness of his copy skill. The ability itself is not supposed to be a solution to win matches, or others would see it as like top tier. This is why it's considered a weak skill, and Mikigami normally has to think outside the box in matches to make up for the skill's own shortcomings, if you get what I mean. It's clear that both Mikigami and Fine don't make a powerful tag team. They're pretty weak, and I do mean like skill wise and like physically. Like they're both weak in both regards, but you could probably just chalk this up as a trial for them to actually overcome. I'm actually like wondering if Fine is gonna get a big gain out of this match, because among the Heavenly Kings, I feel like since she believes they're more best friends and it's not like a romantic pairing, is there going to be something more developing by the end of the match? And you know, you just don't know. You just don't know. We don't know how the story's gonna go. It just seems to be just crazy in my eyes. But as far as like the affections go, if you guys don't understand, like to put it in perspective, like Mary and Marl's affection is romantic. We've seen that since like their fights. It's been through the roof. They're like looking to marry Mikigami by the end of the series, most likely. I can see that. Alice tolerates Mikigami, but she still doesn't like him because he's a man. And, you know, maybe that'll change. But so far, she's been sticking to, you know, her own principle of, no, you're just, you know, I'm here because you have a harem full of women. And that's really it. So there's that. And then Fine doesn't fit any category. And she also doesn't, so she doesn't really have like that love or hate relationship. It's kind of like just friendly, just all around. So maybe when she sees a different side of Mikigami or he gets harmed, she may kind of like pick a side in a way. That could happen. I'm not too sure. But we'll see in the next one. We'll see what happens there. But if I had to say anything about these twin knights, these brats that have shown up, they look decent. I mean, I'm hoping they're not jobbers at all, because if so, that's gonna suck. We don't know what's gonna happen when they actually fight. I'm sure there's gonna be magic and stuff involved, but who really knows? The noblewoman seems very sure of herself that this is gonna be the one that takes it all, and we just don't know. But hopefully next chapter clears it up and we just keep it going from there. But that's it. That's all I got for this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, do what you do, share it amongst your friends. Just get ready to talk about it. Send me questions if you have any. And, you know, I'll see you all next time. Holla at your boy.